and for your show that you're interested in. It's one on one where we create a legacy, we create an archive, we create something for our younger generation. We're going back to the roots. And today I'm excited. I know the live was cut, but I'm excited. I've been waiting for this. I think it's 3 months in the making of me talking to this guest, asking her information, and she was very good at answering to me. And I love when my guests listen because we said send pictures. She sent pictures. We said send this. She was very prompt and ready to go. And you know there's one thing we don't do on one. We do not introduce our guests. There's a reason why we don't introduce our guests. Why? Because if you've been watching me, you know there's always a story. So before we bring our guests, we're going to take a quick minute and we'll be right back with you. Thank you.
So you want me to introduce myself?
Yes, where are we from? Welcome back. Welcome back. We have our guest. As you can see, she is here waiting. We don't introduce, we don't say the name because we are excited once again to have her with us. Now, guest, welcome to One on One.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. How excited to be here.
I am excited.
Do
The
you
traffic was a little bit rough, but I'm excited to be here.
How
Thanks for
far were
having
you
me.
coming from?
Well, actually, I stopped at an event to support the
Hey.
young majorettes and then on to here.
Okay. So you were at another event?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were ready for me only.
I was ready for you. I was only ready for you, but I had to support the majorettes. They had an event today, and they're part of Atlanta Carnival, so I just wanted to show my support.
What is the Matrix?
Those majors from Virgin Islands, they dance with the batons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You should have bring some for us to see, because you see, you know.
It's girls. They take part in the parade, and they have sticks that they dance with. It's called baton. Because when I was younger, I was also a majorette, so
Okay,
I know
we're
how to
gonna
do.
get there, Miss Patricia. We're gonna get there. We're going too fast. Now, Miss Patricia, there's always a story with our guests. What is? I already said Patricia. What is your name? How do you want us to pronounce your name?
Patricia Edigin, and the last name is Nigerian. My husband is Nigerian, so that's where that name came from.
So, what was your maiden name?
Tongue.
Tongue. I thought that was intriguing because I was looking. I was like, Tongue. How do I
Yes.
say that? Is there a story behind your name? Is there something you can remember?
Well, growing up, we were always told that anyone that has the last name Tongue, because it's so unique, we're all family. So if you meet someone, make sure to ask if they're Tongue, because folks get married and they change their last name. You meet some people, they change their last name. So the family never wanted you to marry someone that
That's
is
your
your
cousin.
family, right? So we were always told to ask that. And in our bloodline, we also have a lot of whites. So the Tongue family, we're mixed. We have families Australia and all over. So even in India, as far as India, Dominica, so we're mixed.
So you a
generation.
melting pot in the Caribbean, like they
Yes.
said. So you've been so your name is Eddie Jean, and where were you from?
Originally from the beautiful island of Antigua,
Antigua. What can you tell us about Antigua?
home of 365 beaches, one for every day of the year.
Say that again, because that was really fast. For my audience who's from Haiti, who who don't know anything about Antigua. So what can we learn from you today?
Well, Antigua, we're known for our beaches.
300, say it just like you just said.
365 beaches, one for every day of the year.
You guys hear that? Only on one on one. I'm sure the Antigua people knew there was 360 beaches there, but they didn't know that it was for every each day of the year. So now I need to go take a trip. Is there a favorite beach that you have there? Since
I would say Fry's Beach because I grew up in the countryside, so we could walk to the beaches. So
okay,
there's a lot of beaches there that we could go to, but Fry's was one of our main beaches.
Fries.
Yes,
Okay,
Fry's Beach
Fries Beach.
and
So
Darkwood.
nice. So tell me about the younger Patricia.
The younger Patricia was always involved in stuff because my mom used to work for the Ministry of Education,
Okay.
and then she went and she worked for foreign exchange.
Okay.
So, growing up, I knew a lot of people. I was very much involved in school. When they had plays, I was involved with that. When Independence time, we had to go to the rallies to march. I was the one leading the school. I was very vocal, and I remember Jenny's. I used to go to Jenny's Secondary. We never used to have graduation. A lot of the other schools used to have graduation. And so even though my mom worked for the Ministry of Education, I rallied with a lot of my classmates
Aw.
and we wrote a petition that we wanted graduation. And so now we
How
have
old were you?
graduation.
You see, that's where this comes. See, all this stuff we're gonna learn about you. That started from an early age.
Yes.
How old were you when you started this petition, Miss
I,
Patricia?
I swear I was maybe 12 or 13 around here. Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yes. And
that's
yeah.
interesting. How do you know to do that? To because you were not having a graduation,
Right.
And how do you? Because my 12-year-old didn't have that mental capacity
Yeah.
to create some kind of petition. Did you end up with a graduation?
Of course, we had graduation after that. Yeah, after I left, but the those that follow behind us have graduation. So I was very happy of that. And folks was like, "Your mom worked at the Ministry of Education. You did that, yes." Because I'm
So
always a leader.
You
Yes.
show that the leader that you are. So I know you jumped to 12 years old. Can you remember anything early on your age? Schoolgirls, what were you doing in school? Were you a smart girl? Were you like to play? I want to know the person.
I was a smart girl, but I always like to hang out with the guys.
Hey! That's what I'm talking
one
about.
of the-
Give
yes,
us, give
I
us
was-
some stories.
Yeah, I was one of
'Cause-
those girls that like to hang out with the guys because you get to understand men that way and how they felt about us as females. So when we had anything in the schools, everyone would be sitting on the chairs. I'd be on the desk with the guys, just
Hey.
sitting with the guys, chilling. So
So what did you learn from the guys? You had to learn something good because
Yeah,
we only
I-
here for the stories, for the good stuff. Tell us what you
I-
learned.
I understand how they felt about women, what the expectation and stuff
Give us
like that.
something.
It's not really about the looks. Guys don't really tend to go after the looks. They go after the
So
the
you're saying I
brains
need
and
to stop
somewhat.
wearing makeup? I need to stop. Yeah, that's not what you say. That's what you learn, or
I'm not saying that, but it's just that guys like peace. They want to come home to somewhere that's peaceful. They don't like the nagging from a woman. You understand? They want to come home because, as black men, they have a hard time already in society. So they just want to come home to that peace.
But you didn't know that at 12 years old.
I've learned that in
So
school.
you were learning all that
I
at
learned
12
a lot
years
of stuff
old?
with guys, how they felt about females
From an early
from an
yes?
early age. Yes.
So,
Because
yeah,
guys
I
talk.
like dolls. I didn't know this hard conversation, Patricia.
Dolls.
Yeah, because I'm like, I had this big dream of marrying my Prince Charming and have this thing. I didn't
Yeah.
have guys friends like that.
Yeah,
at that age.
I do because in high school, in high school, you
So
you're around
did
a
you
lot
go,
of
do we
guys.
have middle school in Antigua, kindergarten?
Yes, they do.
Do you remember your kindergarten years?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. So what about middle school?
Yes, somewhat. Yeah, I used to do tracks.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to do tracks at school.
Okay. Did you like that?
Yes, I did.
What did you like best about it?
Just being fit. Yeah, and we used to be a family of. The thing about my family is this: if you hit one in school, you hit all of us.
Hey.
So I remember that we were family. Like, if you mess with one of us, as soon as the school bell rang, we coming after you. And a whole generation
We on
coming.
one on one. We don't want to go.
So I
What does
remember us
that
doing
mean?
that.
What does that mean, Miss Patricia? So, because I know growing up in Hempstead, New York, because that's
Uh-huh.
where I grew up. As we had, I had a lot of brothers and sisters, and what that means is when you said I'm waiting for you outside,
No,
somebody gonna get a beat up.
Right, we bond together. So if you say, for example, something happened in school, we're not gonna fight in school. So we're gonna wait until school is over, and that's when
You
everybody
meet
will
them at
come
the park
together. It's like on our way home.
somewhere. So, do you have any friends from Antigua that you've been friends with when you were young?
I have one good friend from school. I remember her name is Beverly, but we haven't been in touch like that. When I go to Antigua, I'll call her up. But half of my friends from back when, yeah, living here for so long, I
We
don't
lose them.
remember. Yeah.
So that one friend that when you go back home you see, and one on one we always give shout outs to people that mean something to us. Can if you had something to say to that friend, what would it be?
Just thanks for being my friend throughout school, high school.
What was
But I
special
wish,
about her?
you know what, that's true because I was more of a leader. She was just such a quiet person, so I could never understood the friendship there. But I think, yeah, because she was just so
So
quiet. It
quiet.
was just so
You
different.
just because you're the leader, you didn't want to leave anybody behind. You
Yes.
probably was there just to. You probably was a protector.
Because if we sit now, I would have to make the conversation. Because she's so quiet, she doesn't talk much. So I could never understood how we were that close in
But
high
what
school.
was so good about her though?
Yeah.
What beside you, what you take on to her? So if you had something special to
She
say,
was a
did
nice person.
Okay.
She was a nice person. She could come to me and talk to me about anything. And
Anything.
we used to visit each other. I'll go by her and spend weekends. And then she'll come to my house and spend weekends.
So do you still love her? Do you want her to know you love her?
I do
You
love
wanna
her. And I
say thank you?
always love
Your
her.
camera is right there. Tell us something.
Yeah, Beverly, I do love you and I always love you. You're my friend to the end, like Chucky.
Hey. Well, thank you, Beverly. We pray that you remain safe and thank you for being a good friend to our friends here. So now we're gonna take it a notch. So
Okay.
now, Miss Patricia. So you in high school. What was your favorite subject in high school? What did you like, study wise?
Mm, I would say history.
That's my second guess that like history. Tell me why. What is history so important to you?
Because you get to know a lot of stuff that happens, way back before you were born. So, you study that. And I liked home economics. You learn to cook and everything like that. So it depends, yeah.
Any stories you could remember in high school? Besides you meeting these people anywhere and beating them up. Something
I don't. It's not me really beating up. It's
I
just a
know.
family. If
It's
you
a
do
family
one, yeah, I have
joke,
one
yes.
cousin that would always wait for that to happen after school. Yeah.
We're not beating up anybody anymore.
No,
we
we're
are big.
not. No, we're not. We don't.
But it was for
we
fun,
do not
so it
encourage
wasn't beat up.
fighting at
So
all.
if I don't know Antigua, how was life there? Because I know in Haiti we had fun. We were playing different games. Tell us a little bit. Like for me, who don't know your country, what would you want me to know about your country as a
Yeah.
kid growing up there?
Antigua was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love growing up in Antigua. Like I said, I did not really see hardship because just of who my family was. We are educated. It was like in my family, it was like you can't date a certain person unless they're from a certain family. My aunts, they were very strict because they felt like, okay, we all educated, so make sure you find someone that's educated. That's how
So
you will be
education
too.
was big.
Big, very big on
So
education.
everyone in Antigua had to go to school.
Yes, big on
And what's
education.
the highest level, or does it matter, or you just have to go?
Just you gotta go to school, and well, for my family, you gotta go to school, college, graduate. It was education.
So
the
it was
key.
from day one. As a kid, you just know that you're not
Yeah.
gonna go and just
Exactly.
okay. So now I'm from here, don't know anything, and you're this young girl in your country. how would I be able to fit? Like if I travel there, what should I look for? Me taking my kids to your country. What would I be interested in finding?
You'll be interested in going to places like I would say Shirley Heights. And Shirley Heights is like on Sundays they have music there. It overlooks the island, and what we were told, that was where Christopher Columbus came to Antigua and discovered Antigua.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the overlook, and then you have Nelson's Dockyard. That's where they say Christopher Columbus came and stayed.
Okay.
You know,
So
so
that's a beautiful place
yes.
to visit.
And then we have English Harbor, which is like more of a tourist attraction. English Harbor reminds me of Soho in
Okay.
New York.
Okay.
You know, the
The
lifestyle.
lifestyle.
You could leave
All
from
the
one party
yeah.
to the next party.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Like Atlanta was back in the days when we
Yeah.
had, you know, now that we just Atlanta.
Right.
We miss the hot. Now, do you remember the day you were leaving your country because we moving away from Antigua? Do you remember that day?
I remember it.
Oh, tell us about it.
Yeah,
I want the
remember I
stories.
left. I went to New York to stay with one of my aunts.
So leaving Antigua, tell me about that day. Let's take me to there, step
I
by
was
step.
excited. I was happy for the experience because I know I was leaving to come to live to New York and go to school. So I was very excited. Came and stayed with my aunt. The only thing that I missed was missing my mom and my
Oh.
dad.
Tell
That
me
was the
about your
hardest
mom. So
part.
your mom is still there?
No, my mom and my dad passed away.
Oh, sorry to hear that. I lost my mom too 5 years ago.
Sorry.
It's something that's very dear to me, and it changes you in a way that's we cannot explain.
Right, unless you lose a parent, you would know.
Yeah.
Like last Sunday made 14 years since my mom passed away, and she passed away on my daughter's birthday. So that's something that I always remember. Yeah, that day.
And you're a strong woman. I see that you're taking it with
I
courage.
try.
I wouldn't even be able to do a post like that. When I saw that post, I was like, what do I say? Because that takes strength.
Yeah.
Wow. So now you left Antigua. Where did you move first?
To the Bronx.
To the Bronx. Hey, I know the Bronx. I was working for at the Job Corps.
Okay.
Remember the Job Corps?
I heard of Job Corps.
Yes. So they had a facility there,
Okay.
and I used to go volunteer there. So tell me about Bronx and how old were you when you got there?
I think I was around 15, 16.
Oh, so young girl.
Yeah,
So there's
so-
gonna be stories. I want to hear about. Hey.
Yeah, so I moved to the Bronx and I lived there with my aunt in the Bronx. And I stayed with my aunt for a while. And then I went and lived with some cousins of ours. And then I met my first husband.
You're going too fast. You are going. You're skipping. So you got to Bronx. What was your first job? What did you do there? How was school?
So when I got to the Bronx, my
Yeah.
first job actually was at Burger King. And I got that job because my aunt's niece worked at Burger King.
Okay.
And she was like, hey, Burger King is hiring. Would you like a job? I'm like, sure. And so I got that job at Burger King. And I worked at Burger King, I would say 2 months. And the guy was like, I like you. Next thing you know, I was promoted to supervisor. Yes, in 2 months.
And how old were you?
I was about 17.
Okay. So you
Uh-huh.
still skip. You're still going too fast.
What I missed.
So you missed 15 years old. You in high school.
Uh-huh.
Any boyfriends? Because you're jumping too
yes.
fast. We need stories. One-on-one is story time. We need your kids, anybody that's watching. I need them to be like, "Ooh, I didn't know this about Miss Pat." So when you
yes.
got to school, tell
Uh-huh.
me, you went to high school. How was high school?
No, I finished high school in Antigua when I came up here to go to college.
At 15, you went straight to college?
Yes, I came up here
That's
to college.
impressive. So you really was smart.
Well, education is the key, and that's my mom. They instilled that.
That
in us.
instilled that in you.
Yes.
So you didn't experience high school at all?
Here now.
No. Okay. So you didn't experience all the fighting with little girls who didn't
No.
like you, that You just came in
Well, back in Antigua, the girls didn't like me because I always hang out with the guys.
well, you
So they
had too many
felt
guys
like,
around
no,
you.
they felt like all their boyfriends wanted to be with me, so they never liked me. But
Let's okay. Let's talk about this. You had all the guys around you.
yes, yes,
Look,
yes. I
there,
had a lot of guy friends at school.
then
Yes.
you probably still like that. Are you still like that? Do you still
No,
have a lot of guys friends around you?
no.
Not anymore. Okay, so we're going back to Bronx. So Bronx,
Mm-hmm.
you came straight. You went to college. What college was that?
First, I went to what was it? Bronx Community College. That's
Okay.
where I went to first.
So what was your major there?
Accounting.
Oh, so you just like me.
Yes.
No wonder I like you. And a lot of combined.
Yes.
So what did you like about accounting?
Uh, well, actually, I first started out after I got my first degree. I first started out teaching.
Oh, interesting.
So I used to teach a lot of Spanish kids. So
Okay.
I learned a few little Spanish from them, and then I realized that I wanted to make more money. It was all
There was
about
no money in teaching. It's all about
No,
money.
right? And so that's how I got into accounting.
Okay.
And so yeah,
So you did the accounting as a profession. So we going step by step, just so we want to help people to understand your story. You left Antigua, you went to school, or your kindergarten, middle school, high school was done back home,
Right.
because education was important. And then you came here. So was there any challenges for you in Bronx when you made it there with your auntie? Anything you
Um,
can share with us?
there's always going to be challenges.
We on
Yeah.
story time. We want the teenagers to
Yeah.
know. We didn't just grow up and start making money. Ma, I want this. They
Yeah.
want to know
There's-
what
yeah,
we
because-
went through.
Yeah, there's always going to be challenges because you know what it's like coming from the Caribbean and coming here to live with folks. It's never easy, especially family.
Yes.
After a while, you live with family, and then they're going to go out there, and then the first paycheck you come home with, they don't wait for you to save up. Everybody want rent money.
want rent
Everybody
money.
wants you to pay for
Utility.
something. Yes, you got to pay for your utility. You got to pay for this. You got to pay for that. So
So you guys have that too? I thought it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
Haitian.
No,
so
no,
it's
no,
a
no.
Caribbean thing.
So you know what that taught me was that I did not know America was like this, and then a lot of folks coming here saying the same thing. So I remember one year I went back to Antigua, and I met one of my sister's friends. She's a teacher, and we exchanged numbers, right? And she came to the States, and I remember being home. Now I'm back on my own, and with my husband the time prior, and she called me from the airport. She was coming on vacation, and whoever was supposed to pick her up from the airport did not pick her up, so she did had no place to stay.
Oh, wow.
So I had to go get her, and I welcome her in my home. So there's a few persons that I've actually helped in my home that came to America and it had
And,
no place
and that's
to
because of
stay.
what happened to you when you first came in. So we're going to go back to that story. So you started working. The first check didn't even make it to your bank account. They were waiting for you. How did you feel about that? Tell us. Because I know it had to be something, it had to be an experience. You're like, what? You want money?
I started to learn because I had the funniest thing. One day I was walking to the train station and I ran into two friends from Antigua that I knew from way back when.
Okay.
And then we became really good friends and we started sharing notes. And they were going through the same thing too with family members. So then we figure it's a thing here
It's
in
a thing
America,
here.
So
So was that at your first job, Burger King, or this
Yes.
has happened? So Burger King. Now we're gonna go back. So you at Burger King, and in 2 months you become a supervisor.
and then the next one I became manager. And so
This lady.
then I was hiring people from Antigua. Yeah,
So it
people
became
that
the
came in.
Antigua
Yes.
Burger King.
Yes.
Because this is how we do. You bring.
Oh
You
yes,
bring
I was bringing
with you.
everybody in. Yes,
Okay.
everybody.
So how was that? Now you just came. Because if I'm looking at the time right, you're still young. You're still like
Right.
16 years old.
Still, yep. Used to hire everybody, but at that job I loved a lot, and I can remember the manager to this day. His name was Ike.
Ike.
Yes, a white
Ooh,
guy.
Latina Ike.
And he loved me so much because I'm very passionate. What I'm doing, I'm giving it 100%, no matter what. If I'm not going to give it 100, I'm not going to do it.
Uh-huh.
So I think by going there, even my aunt's niece that took me there, I
You
pass
pass
her up and
everybody.
pass up the ladder.
So tell me, what do you think? Is it because you were always a leader? Why do you think that you were passing everybody like that? What is it about you that I mean? There has to be something about you that we can see that leadership on you.
The
It's,
thing for me, I don't like lines. Going into a store, I can't stand lines. I hate to see people waiting in lines. So I think starting out at Burger King, when they used to have long lines, I'm like, why are people waiting? We got to keep the line going. So it's very passionate. Instead of taking one order, you could take 2 to 3 orders and keep everything going. So I used to do that. And that was my very first job. But how I end up leaving that company, I was doing so good, so they transferred me to another store to work. And I remember I got a call that
people
morning.
want to hear you a little bit clearly. Bring the mic a little bit because
You guys
we want to hear the story.
Yes.
They want to hear you
Okay, you
well.
guys can hear me. Yes. So
Yes, they want to hear good stories.
I remember I got a call that morning. There were some guys from the Caribbean too that worked. There's some folks from the Caribbean. I think Grenada or somewhere worked at the same restaurant, and they got robbed. They got robbed that night before, and they actually put them in the deep freeze. So they were rescued that morning. So it was kind of scary hearing stories like that.
What do you mean it was kind of scary? It was scary.
It was
So you got transferred to that Burger King, and that's when all that happened.
that happened, but it
Oh.
wasn't right away. It was later on, and so we were actually in downtown New York. So I remember one day I was at work, and when I was at work, we usually it's Wall Street area. So Wall Street, you have Dow Jones stock market, everything around it. So we opened the back door. It was two managers that day with myself and another guy from Grenada, and so usually it gets hot sometimes. So he opened the back door, and when he opened the back door, could make the
Yeah.
breeze come in because cashiers they working, and I was just there standing up in the back, and then out of nowhere this guy came with a gun, and he told me whatever I do, don't move.
And how old are you at that time?
I was about 18, and
How, how,
he told me
wait.
whatever I do, don't move. And it was just, is this real for me? Is this real? Am I really going through this? It was shocking. So he had the gun on me. Then he walked over to the other manager and he took him to the safe. So I can remember the guy named, his name was Cyril, that the manager that day, and he had on a Rolex. So he tried to hide the Rolex watch, and then the guy hit him in his head with the gun.
Oh my gosh.
And so he told him to go into the safe. And no, this guy wasn't wearing a mask, so you could see his face and everything.
What?
Yes. So
So
he
people did not mind?
yeah, so he took him to the safe and had him removed all the money, and he left. But the gun was still on me, so I didn't know if he was gonna shoot. So while he was going out, he still had the gun, and he went to the back and ran, and we just screamed. And the cashiers, they were, all the time the cashiers and they were up front working, taking customers. You couldn't say anything, and then so
So
from that day I quit. I never went back.
the guy went from the back, and all that was happening, and then in the front nobody could see that.
Nobody knew anything. They
So-
were just working as normal. Yep.
So when you got home, Mrs. Patricia, how was that for you? Being 18,
Oh my God.
and you had to experience that. How was that for you?
It was a lot. It was a lot. And that's a story I told to my children. It was a lot. And I quit that same day. I said I was ever going back. I don't care what money took in the world. That was the end of it for me.
And how did that shape your life? What did you decide to do after that?
I just continued with my studies and, just. I
You're
know
like,
never
no more
be
Burger
fast
King,
food.
no more fast food.
No
You're
more
like, I'm
fast
done with all
food.
this.
Yeah, but you know what? It's funny working in the fast food business because I remember the first fast food that I was at, right? Ike usually goes to the bank with a Burger King bag, but that's where he has the money. So he would leave at a certain time to go to the bank to make a deposit. So one day we were there, he came back. He was like, Patricia, call the police, 911. So we wondered what happened. So on his way to the bank, he got robbed.
Oh my God.
So later on during the
So Bronx
investigation,
was bad at that
yes,
time?
later on during the investigation, it was one of the workers there. So apparently, what they did, him and his friend plotted out,
So he was
and he
set
told
up.
his friend exactly what time the guy would go to the bank. So they end up getting him. But a lot of times it's people around you that set you up. So that's one of the things I've learned in life. It's hard for me to trust people, especially people around you, because people always have an agenda. And you
Look
never
at
know
your
what's
camera.
their
Tell them
agenda.
that because people want to see your face. Because you look so
I'm
serious
sorry.
telling them about that agenda. So
Yes.
so you don't trust people
Easily.
easily. So after that experience, do you have any friends? Because you're not talking about your friends. You're not talking about people you grew up with. So you've always been a person that just believe you, your family, but people around you, you keep that very close.
Yes, I have friends, but I put up a wall.
Ooh.
And it's because of what I do. People always try to get close to me for what you know, who you know. And so I like people that's genuine. And it took me years to find out that everybody was not like me. Because I used to always trust everyone. And then I realized people are not like me. So I can't trust a lot of people. Because you do stuff for people and then they turn around and then do you dirty. So I'm very, very cautious, especially now. I'm very cautious who I let into my circle and around me.
This you look so serious. You look so yes, because this is very dear to you. I can see how touching you are with that. So I mean, you don't have to share. Did something happen that makes you feel that way? Because again, we're in one-on-one. We always want a story. Is there a story that happened that made you to become this person now?
It's
That you
just,
don't care, you don't mind sharing.
it's just everything that I've been through with Carnival.
Okay.
You've been through with Carnival. And for me,
Did you always do carnival?
well, I
'Cause
could
we're
give
gonna
it a
get there.
Yeah, I could give it
We
a
could-
history how I started out with
Okay,
Carnival.
so we
Yeah.
can save that, right? We're gonna go through that. So before carnival, you had friends.
Oh yes.
Okay.
I had a lot of friends.
Let's talk about
Well,
that because you just jump into that
So, yes.
space before
So-
you became the president of
Yes.
Atlanta. Guys, we're gonna go back. We're gonna talk to this lady some more. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back because she's gonna share with us. Because I have with me here Patricia, the president of Atlanta Caribbean Carnival, the carnival that takes place Memorial Weekend that has over 2 million people out. It's big. So this is not just anybody, but we're going to take a quick break. We're going to drink some water. We'll be right back.
You're tuned in to the one-on-one show with Dr. Lucita.
Welcome to the one-on-one show.
You're tuned in to the one-on-one show with Dr. Lucita.
Welcome to the one-on-one show.
You're tuned in to the one-on-one show with Dr. Lucita.
Welcome to the one-on-one show.
You're tuned in to the one-on-one show with Dr. Lucita.
Welcome to the one-on-one show.
You're tuned in to the one-on-one show with Dr. Lucita.
Welcome to the one-on-one show.
You're tuned in to the one-on-one show with Dr. Lucita.
Hi guys, I'm back. Dr. Lucita's with you with One on One. Before we get started, I want to thank all of our sponsors. Holy Element Communion, thank you for being one of our major sponsors. We also want to say thank you to Saving Plumbing for making this show possible, for always supporting us. And we also want to say thank you to everybody that's here watching us. We have about 582 people live watching, and we want to say thank you. Usually we name a few people. So today, because it's so many of you, I'm just going to say for our I guess the people that's been with us for a long time, I wanna give you a shout out. I wanna say hello to Manushka. I wanna say hello to Jimmy. I wanna say hello to Bertos. I wanna say hello to my brother Marcel. Do you have anybody you wanna say hello to?
Yes.
You think watching you, your people on IG?
Yes, I want to say hello to my children and my husband over there in Nigeria.
Oh, they're in Nigeria.
My husband.
Your husband is in Nigeria. Okay, well, we are back, guys. See, I'm learning so much more. She's going to tell us a little bit more about her husband, her kids, and everything that we have going on. So we have Mrs. Patricia with us. Again, she is the president of Atlanta Caribbean Carnival. We just had a brief history. She's not sharing a lot of stories with us, guys. She's being very modest. I want to hear more stuff. Well, her assistants are saying she's sharing. Me, I guess I want more juice. So I want her. She just said to me, "Oh my God, I'm talking a lot." But I want her. I want her to be comfortable. I want you to know that one-on-one is your home. Be comfortable. Share as much as you want. If you feel that I'm being too invasive, you can say you don't want to share. It's okay. It's just I want people to know you. I want people to have an idea who you are, what you represent. So now we left where you left. Boston, and now you moved to Atlanta. What made you come to Atlanta? What was the reason you came to Atlanta?
I always wanted to come to Atlanta.
Okay,
For
what
some
did you
reason,
know
I don't
about
know
Atlanta?
why, but I always wanted to. Maybe because I watch too much TV. So it was just like I always wanted to come to Atlanta just to visit. So I came here on my first visit, and I was like, oh my God, when I was coming down in the house, I saw the homes and everything. I'm like, I want a home like that. I want to move here. And so I came on a visit.
Okay.
And I loved it.
When was that? What year? Remember, story time. You got to think. You got to give it to our kids. Because if your kids is watching
I
this,
think
they want to know.
Probably around 2018, 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, I came down here.
Okay.
And, back then, everybody started to get computers. So I went on my computer and I did a lot of research. And then I reached out to a realtor in Atlanta. And I came down and visited and came back again and did some drive-through. And that's when I saw there was this neighborhood that they were building up and they had homes there.
Okay.
And I went and looked at one of the homes they had on display. And I'm like, I'm going to move to Atlanta. I want to move here with my children. For me, it was safer having my own driveway because I was living in the Bronx and it was hard to park.
Yes.
So you come home at night, there's no parking. You have to wait for hours. before you park. So
Or we have to go switch lane, switch side, depending on the
Yep.
day. Yeah, so this was a big difference for you.
Right.
So now, I know you worked. So from New York, you had another job. You had a different career, right?
So
after you left Burger King,
what
before you
happened-
decided to come.
So what happened? I used to work for the corporate office for Kate's Papery in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Kate's Papery is a very high end store. They sell photo albums. You can get like $1,000. A lot of
Wow.
celebrity shops in that store.
Okay.
Yeah, the average person can shop at Kate's Papery.
I
They're
know.
very expensive.
I'm sure a lot of people don't even
Yes.
know the name.
So I work for the corporate office in accounting.
Okay.
So the CFO and I was very, very good friends. So after I came to Atlanta,
It's a big shot.
after I came to Atlanta and I looked around, I really wanted to come back. So what I was told was that I would have to have a job in Atlanta with a pay stub from Atlanta in order for me to purchase a home. So I thought about it. I said, hold up. We got offices in Atlanta because they had Sam Flax. You ever heard of Sam Flax? Sam Flax owned Kate's Papery too. They're
Oh,
one,
wow.
two
Okay.
brothers. Right. So when the CFO came in, I went to him and I said, I need to talk to you. So he's like, okay, Patricia, come into my office. So I went in there and I said, I want to move to Atlanta. I know you're going to feel it because I'm leaving the company, but I need a huge favor. He said, okay, what can I do for you? I said, can you start paying me out of Atlanta? Make my pay stub come from Atlanta? And he said, sure. And they did that. So I was able to use those pay
As-
stub
yes.
with an Atlanta address. And that's how I ended up getting my home.
Oh.
Yes.
So, when you went to your CFO, how was that conversation? I know it wasn't just like that. It had to be some saddening because you were working there for a long time. And then to tell your friends that you're leaving, how was that?
He understood.
Okay.
And, I like that about him because, people come and people go. Jobs, when jobs are going to fire you, they don't care. They ask you for 2 weeks notice, but when they want to let you go, they let you go, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
I think he understood that. It was me wanting to change, me wanting to move to Atlanta. And he loves me a lot. My bosses and them always love me. So it was just that one of those things that he made it happen.
I feel like I skipped something.
You did?
Yes. Because on one-on-one, we want to create a legacy. What would you tell your younger Patricia, before you become the person you are? What would you tell your younger self? If you had to give your younger self,
What would I tell my younger self? Maybe one or two things I'll do over.
well, let's
But
talk
you know
about
what? I'm always helping people. And I remember I told my neighbor when I first moved into my subdivision, my neighbor is from Panama. She's a retired nurse.
it. Okay.
So we had a conversation. She used to come to my house on Sundays when she comes from church. I'll cook and give her dinner. So we had a conversation and I said to her, I'm going to stop helping people. And she said, why? I said, because people are users and I don't want to help people no more. And I remember she saying to me, don't.
Yeah.
You know, God wants you to help people, and the ones that you help are not going to be the ones that's going to be there for you. It's somebody
Isn't that
totally
the truth?
different.
Isn't that that's always
Yeah.
the truth? The people you take your shirt off your back for, it's always come back from another
Somebody
form,
else.
someone else.
And so my neighbor, older lady told me that, and I carried that order, and I said, okay. And
So
I
you
took her
got-
advice.
So you always been a servant to people?
Yes.
You always.
I'm Aquarius.
Where did you get that from?
Aquarius,
Was it your parent?
it's so true about Aquarians. We will help the world, and at times we're like, who gonna help us? After we save
Oh, we
everybody.
feel like we're by ourselves, right?
Yeah,
Like
we
we're
help
not-
everybody, and then we're like,
Yes.
who gonna help us? It's an Aquarius thing. I have a loving heart, but I tell people don't take my weakness for kindness, because I will let someone get away with a lot, but when I put my foot down, I put it down.
It's over.
Yes,
It's over.
I don't play.
Again, I skipped something because you were getting ready. You were getting ready to jump at it, and I felt like I stopped you. While you met your husband. Remember, I said we were gonna get there. So
my
yeah,
new
you said
husband?
you met your husband, and I said, wait, you are going too fast. Tell me about your first husband,
My first husband.
or your husband, or any boyfriend,
Oh,
or
y'all
anything.
interested in my first husband's story? Okay, so when I lived when I remember I told you I was living with my aunt.
Yes.
Then I moved out and lived with one of my cousins, which is
Uh-huh.
my mom's. Her mom and my mom are
Uh-huh.
sisters, so my first cousin. And so one day, the next building, there was some folks from Antigua. So I
Okay.
knew them when we were growing up.
Okay.
So we were all
You
outside.
see how she's getting comfortable? She's
You know,
outside.
we were all outside sitting down, and we hang out in front of the building. And so he came up. He came up, and I said, I know you. Your face is familiar. You're Troy's brother, because his mom is from Antigua.
Okay.
So we all went to the same church, but
Okay.
he never lived in Antigua. He grew up in the Virgin Islands.
Oh, I love Virginia.
Yeah, but I remember his face
Uh-huh.
from when he was younger, coming to Antigua and stuff like that. And so the girls wanted to borrow his radio, because apparently he had a radio that they used to use on the block. So they went up. One of the girls went up to his apartment to borrow his radio, and they
The
brought
famous radio.
Yeah, so they brought down the radio to play the music on the block. And then she came over to me and said, he said to tell you not to move from here. He's coming back. I said, oh, really?
Hey.
So that was quite interesting. And then he came down, we spoke for a bit, and then we realized that when he had to go to work, I was leaving at the same time. So we used to take the train together, and one
Faith.
story led to another. That's
Faith,
how.
huh?
Yes.
So that's awesome. So this is who you have your kids with? and all
Yes,
that?
my two girls.
The two girls. So again, at one-on-one, we always ask you to say something good to your kids. If you had something to say to him for giving you good memories, you can share that to us as well.
I don't think my new husband would.
Okay, just tell us about the kids.
Uh-huh.
So give the kids a shout out. What would you want the kids to know? If you're not here today, one day, what would you want the kids to remember you by? Just look
Oh,
at your camera. And
There's
talk
so
to
much
them.
things my kids remember me by, and
You
I
can talk
I
to them.
shelter my children a lot. Yeah, I don't.
Something good. I want you to give them a shout out. Look at the camera. Say, "Hey, daughter, I love you." I want something that they could take with them.
I have two girls, Tori and
Yes.
Jada,
Tori and Jada.
and they know how much I love them.
But they don't know
I
it
tell
on
them that
camera.
every single day. Tori and Jada, mommy loves you. You guys are my world.
Any advice for them? Any advice if they're not looking at this camera, if they're looking at this video 1 year, 10 years from today, what would you want them to learn from
I
that?
always tell them to be independent and not depend on anyone in life. And make sure they have two different bank accounts.
Ooh, I want a story about that. Why would you want them to have two different bank accounts?
Because that's what my mom taught me.
That's why. Why do you feel your mom taught you that? What is the importance of? Because I always have one bank account. For me, why you need two bank
they
accounts?
put us when you're married.
You only have one bank account too, right?
No, when you get married. No, when you get married, you need to have two.
Okay.
You have one for you and your spouse, so that you pay the bills. But then you have one for if anything happens.
Oh,
Because
only on
people
one-on-one.
always say men mind is like milk. It's quick to turn. So you always have to have a backup plan.
Only on one-on-one. You hear that, ladies? We need a backup plan. Oh, I love Mrs. Patricia. We need a backup plan because the men are like milk. You said they turn
Their mind
their mind.
is like milk.
Their
It's
mind
quick
is
to
like milk.
turn.
Ladies, take notes because this one-on-one today, we're learning so much. They're quick to turn. So
Yes.
make sure you have two bank accounts. Now let's continue, Miss Patricia. So now you have two beautiful kids. How was life difficult raising the kids? Was it
Oh, no.
easy? Life was always been easy for you?
Yes. Can't complain.
Any advice you would give girls these days growing up besides your kids? What would you want them to learn growing up?
Wait till you're older to have children. Yeah.
But you know,
wait till
older
you're
has
older.
different definitions.
Yeah, but
What
when I
age
say
are we-
older, maybe around after you establish, get a job, get your apartment, be stable, and then you think about having children. Because these children, this generation, they're totally different. Especially them pandemic babies, they're different. So you gotta have your head on these days.
Yes. So now I want to go to the juicy part.
Okay.
The good part that makes me invited you here.
Okay.
We know Carnival is coming. It's the talk of the town. How did you get started to such a big event?
So when I moved here from New York, I heard about the carnival that was taking place in Atlanta. And actually, they had a pageant. And beside my two daughters, I raised three nieces too.
Okay.
Yeah. So my niece, who I raised, who's at Morehouse School of Medicine now, studying to be a doctor, she wanted to take part in the pageant. So I decided, okay, let me take her. We just moved here, wanted something to do. So I took her to the pageant, and I remember they needed more girls. So they begged me if my oldest could take part in the Queen Show.
Okay.
And she did, even though she didn't want to do, she ended up doing it. So there was a young lady, the choreographer, that was teaching them the dance move. And I realized the children weren't getting it. So I'm very vocal. So I spoke up about it. I'm like, you got to change it because it's difficult for the girls. They're not getting it. So you got to come up with some other move, you know. So the lady at the time there, she was the vice president
Okay.
of the carnival. And she came over to me and she said, I like you. I think you should join the carnival committee. You're very outspoken. But at the time, she wanted me to come on board as the board of director.
Wow.
So I end up, am I going too fast?
Well, I don't want to stop you because you're so focused.
Yeah.
But so from pageant, and you just jump into the carnival? But,
No.
Okay.
So after she spoke to me about it, they had the pageant was over and everything, and she reached out. She wanted me to come to one of the meetings
Okay.
to see what it was like. So I went to the meeting, and then I realized they needed a lot of help. And
So even though it was this big, but there
It
was
wasn't
still,
this
it
big.
wasn't
It
it wasn't
was
this
this-
big
no,
before
no, 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 no.
2019? Because
it was a little thing they had in Atlanta.
really,
Yeah, it wasn't this
is
big.
it so? Atlanta Caribbean Carnival, is it the one that used to go on the blocks with all the costumes?
It was downtown. It started with Peach. It
Yeah.
started with a lady by the name of Paula Cooper. Never met her.
Yeah.
Don't know who she is, but I heard a lot of great things about her.
Okay, so
So,
that's the
yeah.
same one. So when you came in 2019,
Right.
that become
I think Paula Cooper probably was running around that time. I don't know.
okay. I don't know
Yeah.
anything about it, so I don't know anyone. So, but I just know that Haiti used to participate in it back in the days,
Right.
and then we stopped. So do we still?
So I think maybe that probably after 2005, 2006, somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
I
Because
think
I
we
moved there in 2003.
You moved in 2003.
2003.
Were Haiti always in it or no?
Haiti was always a part of it. Lately, I haven't seen her.
We haven't seen any of us because I know there was a girl by the name of La Pearl.
I remember her.
You remember her? So she was the person that was very big on that.
Right.
But before we go more into that, why don't you keep telling us? So you become the director. And
No,
you
they
were like-
wanted me to be board
They
of
want you-
director,
okay.
so I went to their meeting, and they were selecting president, secretary, vice president, whatever. And so coming in to be on the board of directors, I realized nobody wanted to be the treasurer. Nobody wanted to be,
Nobody wanted the
when it comes
money.
to money, nobody wanted to touch
They're
money.
like, I don't want my
Yeah.
name.
I've worked in accounting for years. I've seen millions. I've seen a lot of money.
Yes.
Money to me is money. That's how I see it. And so nobody wanted to do none of that. So then I remember they asked me, I know we brought you in here to be the board of director. So would you mind being the treasurer? And I said, okay, not a problem. Next thing I became treasurer secretary. Two positions.
Two position in one.
Two positions because nobody wanted to
Yes.
step up to the plate to do it. So that's how I became involved. But then I never told my husband at the time. It took me about 2 months before I told him because I didn't know what he was going to say. So after I told him, he was like, let me tell you something. You're a good person. You have a good heart. But you see this carnival business, I don't know about it. Because these people, evil people, and you have a good heart, Pat. So know what you're getting yourself involved with. He totally was against it. And then after a while, he just went with
So if you had to teach us something about the carnival, what would you tell us about it? What would you want us to learn about it?
You have to be strong because there's a lot of You get a lot of enemies along the way. There's a lot of people, that's going to fight you down. A lot of egos, you know. And then there are a lot of times people on the outside looking in get involved and they have no clue as to what actually goes on
Yeah,
behind the
the
scenes,
work.
or what, not even just the work, but behind the scenes with everything. And don't pick sides unless you hear both sides of the story, because you really don't know. Because when you get to meet people and they get to meet you, they're like, oh my God, you
You're
know?
different. But I think it's not just carnival. I think it's when you're dealing with people in general. If people don't know you, they have a tendency of making an, a version of you that you don't even know. You understand? So I think it's in general. So now carnival, what do you like the most about it?
For me, carnival is about our culture. And for me, it's not really about carnival. We're from the Caribbean, right? And tourism is our main industry. So to me, it's bigger than carnival. So we want people to go back to any Caribbean island of their choice and witness a true carnival, right? Because here is just a taste of what to get. And I want people to understand that because you see us in our costumes on that day. We're lawyers, we're doctors, we're judges, we're nurses. Don't judge us. We have a voice and we pay taxes just like anybody else. So put some respect on our name.
So even if I see you with your little butt out with all this costume, so that's lawyers, judges, it's people of all. So what I like about is the costume. Do you have
Costumes,
do you have a class for people to make them? How do people make this costume for how long does it take? Tell us about the carnival itself.
It takes a lot, I do logistics. So I'm more of a logistic type of person, but you have band leaders
Okay.
that do make costumes on site.
Okay.
So if persons wanted to learn, I know Calabash Alley, they do classes, they trade people. Other bands that do, if you want to learn about the arts and craft, you're more than welcome to reach out. We'll set you up with a band to learn about it. But it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of money.
Oh wow.
It is not easy.
So how do we get finance for something like this?
It's hard. And why it's hard? Because it's not, say for example, if we do something in terms of autism or we're doing something of some type of research or whatever, it's easier to get money that way. But when it comes to carnival, it's promoting our culture. It's harder to get money. The most money you will get from maybe a liquor sponsor because carnival is about
It's about
drinking and
drinks
all,
and
a party type of stuff. So it's hard to get, money that way.
So how do
But
we
we-
keep it going for so long? How do we survive it?
Personal money,
Personal money.
taking
So
out
you
loans.
have to enjoy it to do it. So
Yes.
it's a love.
It's a lot of work, and I make it easy. I make it look easy, but it's
That's
a
what I was
lot
gonna
of
say.
work.
I was about to say whenever I see carnival, people don't know what it takes. Can you tell us? I mean, we don't have a lot of time, but if you had to give us a rundown, what does it take from the time that the first carnival is done to get prepared for the second one? How much time that it's involved in this?
It takes a whole year. A whole year to plan. So usually carnival finish in May and we'll start up July because I have to turn in the application, which is like 30 something pages. So I got to fill out an application for 30 something pages. The city doesn't make it online where I could fill it out and submit it. And so it's planning of sending in the application. And before you send in the application, you have to get with all your contractors, sanitation, EMS, everybody to get you their contract agreement because you have to send that in along with the application to the city. And then the city disburse that application to different, say for example, Parks and Recreation, this, that, different people in the city to approve your application.
So there's
it
a
doesn't
lot
go
of
to-
legwork
Yes.
before the actual day. So tell me about the day because it looks like it's like a business. It's like a process.
production. I call it a
Okay,
production.
it's a production.
Oh, yes.
So you start everything months in advance, and then you have the big day.
Right.
So tell me, how's that big day look for you?
Stressful.
We want stories.
No
Come on.
sleep. It's no sleep. That's why you have to be behind the scenes to see what actually goes on in the production. As from the Wednesday before, there's no sleep whatsoever because it's always activity after activity. So we start out the Friday with something called Juve.
Okay.
That's from 6 p.m. to 1 p.m. They say at the underground. We got to be at Juve. Once Juve is over, we got to make sure the place is cleaned up. And then we got to get back to the hotel. So I put the team up in a hotel so everybody could be in close proximity. Because, you know, traffic in Atlanta is horrible. And I don't want them to say that they're late. So I want to make sure everybody's there. And then the Saturday now, we got to be at the park for 6 o'clock. Because that is when the vendors are coming in.
My gosh.
But we start from the Friday. Because the Friday we get the park from 6. So Friday the stage is coming in, the toilets are coming in.
Oh my gosh.
The vendors are also coming in because they're setting up their tents, and the fencing is coming in to do the fence.
Oh my gosh.
You know, we got to make sure everything is set up. Then you got the bands coming in to set up their tents so they could feed their masqueraders after the
Now
parade.
it's all about you. How are you on that day? I want to know, Miss Patricia, what do you look like on that day?
A hot mess.
What does that mean? Is your phone running like crazy? People
I don't
are-
answer my phone that day.
Okay.
I don't. I'll give it to Janelle. I don't answer my phone that day, period, because a lot of time you give them all the information, but they'll wait until that very day.
Oh my God.
You know, very day they'll wait to call you nonstop. Where's the parade route? Where is this? Where is that? And you feed them all the information. And then you know what I noticed too? A lot of time people don't like to read. You give them all the information, nobody wants to read. And you know, that's the saddest part.
I'm starting to be just like them too. Because you get things done quicker. Why I got to read all that? Because even here in our office, because we used to be down here and now we move upstairs, people come in, they're looking at the sign, they're reading the sign. They still call us. I'm in front of the building. Where are you? We're like, there's a sign right here. So it's normal for people not to read because it's easier, the information, and they get to hear your voice. So to
Right.
confirm that the event is actually happened. So I think that's why it's like that. But I enjoy this. There's not enough time to keep talking about you, to keep talking about what you do. But we still got a few more questions for
Okay.
you. What is the definition of success to you? If you had to describe success, what does that look like to you? What is the definition of success?
For me personally, it's by accomplishing my goals and making everybody around me feel happy. It's not about money. It's just the joy that comes with what you do and making other people, you know, feel happy. And because, like, especially for Carnival Day, for me, success is my team getting it done with me and making it, you know. So we sit back. We don't really get to see anything till after the event anyway. But for me, it's everybody coming out, having a good time, going home, being safe, and the job well done.
So if you had anything to tell the Caribbean community about Carnival, what would you want them to know? What advice would you leave for them?
We got to be more tighter as a Caribbean people because it starts with us. You know, we kind of have that crab in a barrel mentality, and it's always fighting against each other. If we can't come together, nobody's going to ever respect us. So it starts with us.
It starts with us. And again, you took time. You drove all the way from Gwinnett to come here. From the bottom of my heart, from the team of One on One, we want to tell you thank you, and you're welcome to come anytime.
Thanks for
So
having
now,
me.
anything you want to tell your audience, your people, what would you want to tell them before we leave today?
Make sure to come out to Atlanta Carnival on May 24th. Go visit our website, www.atlantacarnival.org, or visit our Instagram page, Official Atlanta Carnival, for more details. It's our day.
It's our day. On that note, you were listening to Dr. Lucida, sitting here with Mrs. Patricia Edigin. I think I'm saying it right.
Edigin.
Edigin. And it was a pleasure, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank
You're tuned in to the One on One Show with Dr. Lucita.
Welcome to the One on One Show.